Now, our first guest for Sarah's Country tonight is from Irrigation New Zealand as an organisation well positioned with key influencers and decision makers. But there are so many challenges ahead for the industry. We're joined now by Keri Johnston, the Chair of Irrigation New Zealand. Kia ora and welcome to Sarah's Country, Keri. It's a privilege to have you on. There has been a change and restructure, which has been really hard for Irrigation New Zealand, but necessary in moving forward. How is the organisation feeling at the moment with the move to Wellington and the new mandate?
Really, really good. I think to quote Jessie Chan, crisis does not change who you are, it reveals who you are. And, we were obviously hit pretty hard by the loss of our conference, so we needed to be sort of nimble and agile, and we acted quickly to embed change. And with our new Wellington base and our new CEO in place, and also recognising the importance of connecting our regions and collecting their views to inform our national position, which is the new role that Elizabeth Soul, our former Chief Executive, is doing. We're feeling pretty good. We're really looking forward to 2021.
Fantastic optimism, because at the end of the day, when we're talking about climate change as a theme for this evening, irrigation is an absolute lifeline going forward for so many. And the likes of Rupert Handyside yesterday we had on the show from in the Wairarapa, putting in storage dams is becoming such a physical part of being able to have security over your farming future.
Yeah, it is. And for us, our big theme really is around water security. That security of water allows us to not only grow food without the threat of sort of drought or floods, but it also allows, us to supply community water supply, have environmental flows, to decrease the pressure on rivers at times of low flows. And it will be really a hugely important tool in meeting our climate change emissions reductions targets, and we really need to start having an adult conversation about water storage.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is about an adult conversation or changing the conversation that has been around irrigation for so long. And the hardest part to do that is that factually it takes a lot to get your head around. How are we able to simplify the messages that irrigation is a positive done well?
I think there are some simple things we can be doing, as you've said, and one of those is things like our Know Your Catchment project, which is now a web-based platform where you can do exactly that. You can find out more about your catchment, and that data is live. You can see all of the things that are going on in that catchment, and that is about sort of educating and bringing everybody together in that sort of storytelling side of things. But I think too, it's also about opening up the conversations and perhaps changing the tact of them from what we have done in the past. Water is valued by all New Zealanders, but sometimes we come at it from different perspectives. And water and irrigation is for lives and livelihoods. And as we move towards sort of diversification of land use, and the environmental focus that we now have, we need to be able to have an open and adult conversation about how irrigation can integrate and support the environmental objectives, but also how storage and infrastructure can move reliance from our run-of-river states that we have had to date.
And of course, the move to Wellington is to be closer to the conversation when it comes to policy making. So what is the next steps with a sole Labour government, and we now know what we're dealing with, to be able to have those frank and honest conversations? Are you positive that we can achieve more in this next term than we did in the last?
Yeah, I am. And I think, we have had some very strong voices in the past that still link, irrigation to intensification and therefore poor water quality. But it is now about sort of moving that soundbite away from that. And we have really good relationships with all of the government officials and ministers at the moment. And it's building on that. And it's about building trust as well. They need to be able to trust us that we are going to be able to do what it is that we say we do.
I think the big untold story is the improvement in soil quality and water holding capacity and drought proofing. Are we able to get that story through?
Yes, I think we are, particularly the drought proofing side of things. You know, as you said today, with the big focus on climate change and climate change resilience, I think that is definitely a story and a message that we can further promote with this government. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm really excited to follow. I mean, not only yourself as chair, Keri Johnston, as well as new incoming CEO Vanessa Winning, with Irrigation New Zealand's new chapter going into the future. It's had some incredible people at the helm over the previous chapters that has been Irrigation New Zealand, but it's a completely different future that we are facing, and more needs to be done, so in different directions as well. So really enjoying chatting to you. Thank you so much, Keri Johnston, the Chair of Irrigation New Zealand. And of course, Annette Scott has got a story out in this week's Farmers Weekly titled Irrigation New Zealand Looking into the Future, and you can catch that at farmersweekly.co.nz, our strategic partners of Ceres Country, bringing that in-depth journalism to you.
This is Ceres Country.